Hello and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corey Huntsberger. I've got my father, Alan Huntsberger, in the studio. And Dad, we're starting off with our foundational verse.
The earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants belong to the Lord. For he laid its foundation on the seas and established it on the rivers. Psalms 24, 1 and 2.
2 years later, these guys are still saying the same verse at the beginning of every show because it is important, because there's lots going on in the world and it can get a little hairy, but we want everyone to remember that God created it all. He owns it all. He's in charge, right?
Absolutely. And, there's a lot of voices out there telling you to go here, do this, stop here, don't do this, et cetera, et cetera. And so all the more why you need to be in a relationship with Jesus Christ.
Who do we listen to? Well, one of the people we listen to is this lady right here. Dr. Judy is on the show again. We're so happy you're here. Thank you for being here.
It's a delight to be back.
Good. Dr. Judy, we talked to you last time about Bobby Kennedy Jr. and you were talking about, well, first of all, he hadn't been appointed as secretary. Now he's appointed. So what's going on with there? Because I know that you were very close in that situation.
Well, I think the most important thing was confirmed. And so actually the last time I talked to Bobby was the Friday after Thanksgiving. And I was kind of freaking out because I had forgotten that main verse, or I didn't forget it. I was watching a lot of people in the hospital homicide situation and these diagnoses of stage 4 cancer and what we're seeing there. So I tapped both General Flynn for the Trump side of the team and Bobby for his, and just text him and said, okay, I need to talk and I need to talk today. And he texted me and said, can I call you later? And I said, yes, but make sure it's today. And he called back, and I was at Godspeak Church. So the third person I went to was Pastor Rob McCoy. I guess I should have started with Rob McCoy, because then I wouldn't have had to bother General Flynn or Bobby, because he would have calmed me down. So at any rate, I was going on as fast as I could. They're killing everybody. What is you? Blah, 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 blah. And he said, Judy. He screamed, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a pretty good voice. I've never heard that voice before. And he said, Judy, I have to get confirmed before I bring in the crazies. And all I could think of was this song from Judy Collins. My husband liked a song, send in the clowns. There have to be clowns. No, so sorry, they're here. And I calmed instantly down, like he just slapped me. And I'm like, yeah, I got it, Bobby. I'm good. Okay, I'm back. And I honestly have not talked to him since.
Okay.
But then just started to pray for him. And in fact, he was confirmed. And why being the Secretary of Health and Human Services was so critical is because in 1986, when all liability was removed, November 14th, 1986, when all liability was removed from pharma for a vaccine injury, it was placed right on Fauci. HHS, Health and Human Services, starting from the Senate Majority Leader on down. And that is the key. And so EPA, the FDA, the CDC, every institute of the NIH, and Congress. So I remind people of Scott Atlas's beautiful book, A Plague Upon Our House, because this is the problem. They're bought and paid for, and that law was so destroyed. And I tell people the lawyer who wrote the compensation program with Barbara Lowe Fisher, A Shot in the Dark, is her book in 1984 about the injury from DTP shots, because the mRNA, DNA, and protein of the pertussis part of the shot, and I'm going to say a movie, Protocol 7. And so the movie with Mike Hugo and what happened to that compensation program, which would have in fact ended everything because it would have worked. And the movie for that is 1986, The Act. And you can find it at 1986theact.com. So Protocol 7 and The Act are both Andy Wakefield's movies. And one came out in about 18. And you can hear in Mike Hugo's own words, what happened to that compensation program. And you can see from the HHS secretary on down, and you can see how that was corrupted in order to keep from the public that as Bernadine Healy said in 2008 on that famous 60 Minutes, now I believe we have the technology that if a particular culture or group were more severely injured from vaccines, we could protect that group. And who that group was African Americans versus European Americans. Critically important. And so we know they are guilty of crimes against humanity, literally criminal charges against people in the House, in the Senate, the people who have been taking pharma money. And this is why everything Trump and Kennedy are doing are so important. And you can see it over time. So it's very important for us sitting out here watching to watch. We're told to watch in the Bible. We're told to hear. That's why I started a year ago or more playing a book club on Wednesday nights on XSpace. And some of my colleagues and friends said, Judy, they'll never listen to a book for 2 hours. And I said, well, they can go Fauci themselves because I'm going to play it, because we're called to be hearers of the word, and doers of the word, not readers of the word. Silence equals death. Nikki Willis, Plandemic. Silence equals death. Bonhoeffer, I play Bonhoeffer. What did he do? When is it going to be me that they come after? When do I? And the Eric Metaxas book, I played that book. So you see, and have played Scott Atlas's book. And 2 days ago, I played Mark Levin's new book about the corruption of the Supreme Court. So there's something for everybody in our book club. And I'm trying to help the best I can. And the key for Bobby and stay in my lane and keep healing people, as you heard on the last call. The key for Bobby is that you can see how many of those senators and congressmen were against him. But at the same time, you can see, and the God, even in the pardon, people got upset about the pardon to Fauci. And it's like, it goes back to 2014 for a reason.
Right.
What did you know and when did you know it? Nobody can be held criminally liable if they didn't know. And that's why talking truth in shows like yours are so important, because what did you know and when did you know it? And so that's why it was so important that Bobby get confirmed. And again, I haven't talked to him since, because hey, when God calls, we'll know when he's ready to bring in the crazies.
Well, for one, about that pardon, interesting thing, we're finding out it was signed by an auto pen. So I think all that's going to go away, and he's still going to be, in trouble. I got to ask you this. You may not have gotten a call, since Thanksgiving, but I know you're watching, and you're watching like a hawk. You've been watching like a hawk for a long, long time. I understand when someone gets in, they just can't come and make all the changes that everyone dreams about, right off the bat. I know you got to play the politics, got to play the game. There's a little bit of concern, when this measles situation came up, and supposedly the media was saying that Bobby's saying, hey, thumbs up on the measles vaccine. Everyone should get it. I want to know, you watching like a hawk, you've been in the inside, how the song and dance and kind of what you have to do. Tell me, what are you seeing, and does it scare you? Does it encourage you? What's happening in through your eyes?
Bobby is playing it absolutely perfectly, I should say. What Bobby does for me is he says, Judy, can I make this statement? And I say, Bobby, say it this way. And he says, send me the paper, the publication that what I'm talking from. And that's critically important in these confirmation hearings and in the foreword of our book, Plague of Corruption, because it's all been done. So one of the things he said in the foreword of our book, Plague of Corruption, and he also said in the conversation, was the name Gotti. And the Gotti paper was a 2017 paper that showed you bird flu sequences in the MMR vaccines. And what do you have in every vaccine? When was SARS-CoV-2 injected into humans by way of a polio vaccine? He also said that too. 2004. And the paper is more at all, and it's on our website. So all I do is talk and show you where to go, where to look. I don't tell you where to go. I show you where to go. No, anyway, so at any rate, I'm learning to speak better too. But at any rate, so Bobby, as soon as he said that, everybody freaked out. And it's like, you're kidding. He said the word vaccine. He's not going to be for us. He said, people, stop it. There is no measles vaccine. There is no measles vaccine because, in fact, no measles vaccine has ever been tested. 1986, none for more than 5 days. Watch the high wire on Thanksgiving. And they will show you the fraud at every level of 2024 back a year ago. So again, when we're watching and learning, then we don't freak out. So I encourage my team. I ask my team, get it out there. Show the Gotti paper, show the avian leukosis virus, that would be bird flu, in the MMR vaccine. And we knew that in vaccine court, the compensation program, because Frank Rossetti and I served as expert witnesses since 2014. So we knew who they were injuring and how and the mechanisms. And so beautiful Mike Hugo, lawyer, said to me, text me on February 13th, the day Bobby Kennedy got confirmed. And he said, so is Bobby going to call me and ask me to fix that compensation program? I'll have it humming in no time. Give me a week and I'll have it humming in no time. So you see where we, the people, have to go, because the Gotti paper will show you the garbage in every shot. And earlier when he went to polio on Fox News, I believe it was on Hannity, and when Bobby said polio, every polio is going to come back. And this was before he got confirmed. So you can see where they're going with this to try and make everybody be afraid.
Right.
And in fact, all the polio vaccines cause polio. Always have. They just changed the name: acute flaccid myelitis, acute flaccid paralysis, and they gave you the iron lung and scared everybody to death. So you see, the playbook never changed from the Spanish flu, and the book is John M. Barry, The Great Influenza. So you see, when you know the books, and when we're not censored, and when we're educated, and we get rid of the corruption that is the Department of Education, then these things will hum along and the laws will actually work. So when that happened, I calmed down my friends. I yell at them on the text. I yell at them in the text, including Mike Hugo. I yelled at him last Friday night pretty good on a text. And he texted me, and he said, I'm going to go to sleep now and forget you said that. So, you wrote that. And I text him and I just said, I'm sorry. I'm in a Marriott. I'm on the floor. I haven't been home in weeks. I have no idea what time zone it is. No idea where I am. And this was the chapter in our book, Plague of Corruption, the fate of those who fight the darkness. So I text that, went to sleep in Dallas, Texas, woke up in the morning, and all I saw was the little heart. from Mike Hugo. It's like, okay, and I sent a little heart back. So it's like, okay, you can forget I ever said that, and we're good. So when we don't take offense and we trust the people, we've got to trust our leaders, that they are in fact God-fearing men, and that they will, that this was the will of God and the will of the people, that we're one nation under God, not under religion. And you know, even our North American continent, our 51st state, we're with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that is, and Alan, this is my last thing I'm going to say, and I'll let you talk because I know you want to get it.
That's okay.
I'm glad you said that, because when I do, I think we just have been lied to for so long and abused. You know, you're always suspicious. But I do remember when he spoke, you can't get any more sincere when he was saying, for 20 years, every morning, I get up and pray and ask God to give me the opportunity to make change and to do something. And he did that through Donald Trump. I love that speech, the way he say that. And that is true. I believe that to be true. And I know it's true. And I know we have to be patient. Go for it, Alan.
So in this battle that we're fighting, where do you think we're at? Like, are we winning? Is the,
You know what I'm going to say.
Are you kidding? You're talking to Dr. Judy.
Yes,
She's
I want her to. I mean, are we winning? I mean,
Are we winning?
That
We already won.
okay.
We already won. You know, God wins because love wins. And so
That's right.
what we have to do is convince the people, just like our last conversation. We have to disciple people. You know, we have to disciple people. In fact, I should, you know, and how to discipline yourself is to stop their fear, stop the medical deity trust, and go back to God. People are still running to those hospitals who already killed your loved ones. They're running back to poisons which never had anything to do with medicine. Or they're calling me. This is an interesting thing with respect to Bobby. So right before the election, I can't tell you how many doctors and chiropractors and people in California, all over, practitioners said, Judy, I can't vote for the orange man. And I said, you guys, the orange man already told you that Bobby Kennedy is on the ballot in every state except the swing states where he removed himself when he made the promise to join. So, and Trump was telling you every night, Kamala never got a vote. Kamala never got a vote. So if it wasn't too big to rig, if it wasn't too big to rig, which of course it was, vote too big to rig, then Bobby, by our Constitution, the top two vote getters would have been president and vice president. And so people aren't thinking, because they don't know our Constitution, they don't know the law. I'm sitting right here, as I always do when I get home. I'm studying the Founders Bible. We're in Job now because I'm having trouble with that too. But I'm studying with the Founders Bible. And so if we don't know what our founding fathers, I've also got an 1828 dictionary on the table from Daniel Webster that my friend Deb Baber here in Brave sent me. And I've got it turned to the page, vaccine. What is vaccine? The only thing that is legally called a vaccine? Cow, vaca, the Latin. It means cow. Well, every vaccine has cow blood in it, except the new recombinant vaccines. Because what happened in 2009 when our science paper came out, October 23rd, 2009? What happened was they were criminally liable, according to the 1986 Act, if they left any mRNA, DNA, and protein from any animal. And every single vaccine that was not recombinant had cow blood in it, and into that date. So on that date, every bit of your federal government was criminally liable. And so vaccines, it means cowpox. Even the smallpox vaccine was cowpox, and they play the monkeypox game. Sure, because we made our, that's what I was mentioning about Aaron Siri. And he's Bobby's attorney. And I was watching TV and I thought, wait a minute, who's Bobby's attorney? And on comes Aaron Siri, and I'm like, brilliant! This is so much fun. And Aaron Siri said, not the polio vaccine, a polio vaccine. You remove any vaccine made in Vero monkey kidney cell line E6 and any clone of Vero monkey kidney cell line, which every vaccine, including measles, has been made since 1962, when that cell line is made, where we got HIV. SIV is not HIV, simian virus 40. Yeah, it was in that cell line, because you injected the mouse, monkey, cow, pig, aborted fetal mRNA in every single vaccine. And in order for me to manufacture in fermentation chemistry that first job in 1980 at the National Cancer Institute at Fort Detrick, Maryland, in order for me to grow any of these viral vaccines, I had to use cow blood. So cow blood. Which cow did I use? Every lot is different, and not one single lot since 1986 ever had testing, ever had more than 5 days of testing. So we injected so much mRNA, DNA, and protein, microgram quantities, not nanogram quantities. And that's the beautiful Teresa Deischer. And these are publications that I showed Vaccine Court, the compensation program, and so did with Frank Rossetti, from 2015 to 2019, when they threw us out of there and said, any lawyer that hires Mikovits and Rossetti, it's a chapter in our book, Plague of Corruption. By the way, we have 3 books, and I encourage people not to read them, but to listen to them. And because you can't read the words, because people think a vaccine, the word is meaningless. Do you call it a cart? Do you call it an automobile? Do you call it a Mercedes? We use a word, and that's millions and billions of doses. Not one single one was tested. Which spike protein did you add? The cow, the pig, the monkey, the HIV, the SIV, the SV40. It's all there, and it was never cleaned up. And that's the point. All of them go away. All of them go away if we look at the law. Right. But we've got to convince people, and now that everybody has been injected with all of this, we need to give them oral, mucosal, nutritional, just exactly what I do with you and every person that comes to me. I have to look at their environment and see where the toxins are and where they're being poisoned, because we genetically modified. We vaccinated the cows, we vaccinated the dogs, we vaccinate the pigs, the monkeys, the plants. The plants, GMO plant is not food, and their immune system, which is their retroviral, their on-off switches, that's in a plant. Right. And our soil is dead. We have not obeyed God. None of us can get out of this. Every one of us is a train wreck.
Before we leave, we got to leave you with one more verse. Go for it, Alan.
Well, one of the things that's, always amazing to me and always happens to us is we're always told to listen to people. Listen. And the question is, whose voice do you listen to? And Jesus in John chapter 10 says, my sheep recognize my voice. I call them by name and they recognize my voice. And they follow me because they recognize my voice. So the question is, are we listening to Jesus? Do we hear his voice? And the example that I have is found in Acts chapter 22. And in Acts chapter 22, it says this in verse 10. While we were staying there many days, a prophet named Agabus came down from Judah, and he came to us, took Paul's belt, tied his own feet and hands, and said, this is what the Holy Spirit says. In this way, the Jews in Jerusalem will bind the man who owns this belt and deliver him into Gentile hands. And when we heard this, both we, and this is the Apostle Luke saying this, both we and the local people begged him, Paul, not to go up to Jerusalem. Now, the interesting thing is Agabus, if you go to Acts chapter 11, he predicted a drought would happen, and a drought happened. In verse 13, Paul then says, "What are you doing? Weeping and breaking my heart? For I am ready not only to be bound, but also to die in Jerusalem for the name of the Lord Jesus." And since he would not be persuaded, we stopped talking and simply said, "The Lord's will be done." So this is incredible, because the Apostle Paul, if anybody, he should have listened, but he didn't. Why? Because the Apostle Paul heard Jesus tell him to go to Jerusalem. And the Apostle Paul knew that he was supposed to go to Jerusalem. So it doesn't matter what other people are saying, even though they can actually be saying things that God is saying, you and I need to have that personal relationship with Jesus so that when he says something, we hear it. Then you go to verse Acts chapter 23, and in verse 11, after all that Paul went through in Jerusalem, in verse 11 it says, "The following night the Lord stood by him and said, 'Have courage, for as you have testified about me in Jerusalem, so you must also testify in Rome.'" So I think it's key for all of us to know the voice of the Lord, especially in today's world.
Wow.
So bless you.
Keep listening to Jesus' voice, Dr. Judy, and doing what you're doing. You're saving so many lives and your team, and we're just so grateful for you. Alan, every time she comes on this show, I just don't understand half the stuff she's talking about, but I just want to keep listening to it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, she knows what she's talking about.
I know she does. I don't, but she does.
Yeah, I know.
If you want to help support our mission, keep this conversation on the air, we are viewer supported. You can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on the donate button. If you'd like to do it through mail, many people do, you can make the check payable to Heritage Christian Ministries Association and send it to 246 Stewart Green, Southwest Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H3C8. And you can always call our toll-free line. Ask for prayer there too. 1-800-915-0056 in Canada, 1-800-445-3450 in the U.S. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.